Hey everyone, so I was messing with Apex a bit today, and I got a little bit of help uh, when I was trying to figure out how to set up a rig like I would basically sort of translating my KinFX standard type of setup into Apex from the amazing Will Harley, who made the awesome Chicken and Luchador rig that you may have seen from the Side Effects Houdini 20 keynote or from some of the Hive videos. I just wanted to make this quick little video showing basically what I've learned. It also shows some of the bugs existing in Apex currently, which I would expect to be around for a little while as things get figured out. Although I am really excited to see where this thing goes in the future. Yeah, just wanted to kind of walk through this and show people how they can take a existing character that they might have and set it up in a very basic way with Apex and show some of the basic kind of concepts. So yeah, let's jump in and check it out. First thing you want to do is, well, the real first thing you want to do is probably open up the rig tree panel and open up the Apex network view. You don't actually really need the Apex network view because we're not going to be editing anything in the Apex network view, but you definitely want this rig tree open somewhere. So I'm going to go and do a pack folder. And this is how we're going to be able to pack our geometry into a nice little Apex hierarchy thingy. So I'll plug this guy in first. I'll plug this guy in second. And I want to call this one base. And I want it to be a shape, and I want this one to be called also base, and this one is going to be skeleton. So if you go then open here, you'll see this is now base.scale and base.shape. You can name these whatever you want, but I'm just setting up a quick and dirty rig and using the rig components. It defaults to the name base, so this will make things easier for me. So then I'm going to use the Apex auto rig components. I'll plug this guy into it. And then what you'll see we have in this node is it's basically a way to like procedurally generate Apex graphs slash like a pre-built component for setting up a rig. And you'll see it defaults to this bone deform component here. But instead we want to use, and these are all just BGO files that we have. So anyone else can make these components with Apex and save them out and, you know, sell them on Patreon or, you know, make them available. And hopefully people will make some really cool auto rigs that we'll be able to download and use and open up with the auto rig component. But anyway, so I'm going to do a FK transform, and I do that, and by default, if I hit enter, yeah, we'll see. Okay, I have now my skeleton visible here. It's kind of weird, and for some reason, just this little joint is popping up, and I can rotate that. Okay, that's really strange. Why is that? Well, the answer is because these things by default are promoted in the auto rig component. I feel like the default for this should probably just be star, but because the only thing in my skeleton that already existed that matched any of these names was the head, it's the thing that got promoted to have rotations, you know, work with it. So this R promote group is for promoting the rotations of any joints to a control, and it's kind of automatically making these controls and letting us animate them and stuff. So if I put star in here, I can then rotate any of these, and that's cool. I can do the T if I want. Also, if I want to be able to translate these, I think also if I like select some of these and then maybe shift select this guy and then do the control shift thing, I can like weirdly manipulate my rig in interesting ways, like was shown off in the demo by Warren. So that's kind of cool. Like rotating it all around this pivot, which is kind of fun and interesting. I love to also have the scale parameters available because I love to do weird, janky animation. But I'm assuming most people would probably want to just promote certain things to R and or maybe all the things to R so that they have FK available for everything, and then certain things to translate that they're going to use IK on. So I'll do that in this example, and I can click on this guy, and if I click this guy, it'll show me in this selection set like what my current selection is. So I can see the name of this is foot L. It's hopefully at some point names will just be shown in the viewport, but right now I know that this is foot L, and I know that this is knee L, and I'm going to want to be able to translate these controls as well as the hip for IK purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, excuse me, foot star, knee star, and hip. And then I can translate this, I can translate this, but I can't translate this, I can't translate this. So that is just the basics of what's going on here. I'll point out also, again, as I was saying, if I go over here and I do an unpack folder, I believe, we'll see that, oh, I have this crazy stuff generated here by Apex. So again, what the auto rig component is doing is basically like procedurally and automatically building out a Apex rig for me, or an Apex graph for me, that lets me rig it. So cool. All right, I'm going to delete this unpack folder. Let's name this FK setup or whatever we want. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to do in here. I don't think so. I think we're good. Note that it makes this base.rig thing that doesn't exist already before this. So I'll do another auto rig component. And if I plug this guy in here, we can use the bone deform if we want. So if I do that and I play with some of these, now I can bone deform my guy and do some fun animation on here. So that's fun. And you know, it's rare that this is all that I would need for a rig, but sometimes that's the case. And so if I want to just be happy with that, I can drop a scene animate down here, and then you can just start animating this guy in here and keyframing stuff and having fun. And like I was saying, you know, we could maybe like pivot everything from this point. So I'll select that guy, and then I'll Control Shift. Again, reminder to look at this stuff up here for tips. And I can do some wonky stuff. Obviously, this is not very useful, but I'm just trying to kind of illustrate that. I actually don't know how I would correctly set this up to behave the way that it did in Warren's example. So I'm just gonna figure that out later. But yeah, so cool, incredibly basic FK rig. That's great. So now I'll rename this to bone deform. And if I want to set up IK, what I can do is do a Apex auto rig component up here. And if I go into here, I can set this to say IKL or whatever. And we'll IK the left leg, and I'll set this to smooth IK. And great. The prefix is called arm right now. I never use IK for arms, but I'm going to set this to leg instead for good measure. I'm going to turn off this mirror thing because it was screwing things up for me. I'm going to pick the correct names for these. So this is going to be knee L. No, this is going to be leg underscore L, knee underscore L, and foot underscore L. And if I do that, I believe now I should have some IK over here, and that's pretty sweet. And I have this control over here that I can do stuff with, and that's great. So now if I go into here, and I go into here, and I hit the reset animation, we'll see we have, theoretically, some kind of IK stuff set up. Although it's not working. I might have to make a new... Apex is still kind of buggy. I might have to make a new bone deform here. Let me do a auto rig component. One thing I should be able to do is just hit this refresh button. But I noticed that if it does that, then it opens this up and clears all these things out, and that breaks everything. So I'm going to not do that, and I'm instead just going to use a new one, plug this into here, and let's see if this works. And no, it is not working. That's annoying, but that's okay. We can see up here that this thing is indeed working and that I have this pole vector constraint thingy. And so if we want to just set up the other one really quick, I'll copy and paste this auto rig component, plug it in down here, call this IKR, and then I will set this to R underscore R underscore R, and great. Now this is not working. This is totally broken. What's going on here? So it's not letting me move this guy, and it is letting me move this guy, and it's letting me move the hip, and so everything's kind of wonky. And the reason for that, I found out after struggling with this for a second, is that over here on the controls side, well, actually the way that I figured it out was I clicked on this and I said, okay, wait a second. What is this control called right here? And I saw it's called arm pull L, and I said, wait a second, I didn't name anything arm pull L, meaning that over here on the controls, I then was able to find out that that's just the default name for the pull vector in this component. So I'm going to change this to leg pull R, and I'll call this one leg IK handle R. Whoops. And for good measure over here, now that they're different names, it should work fine. But let me, because these names were the same for both the right pull vector and the left pull vector, and the right IK handle and the left IK handle. So I'm going to do leg pull L. I'm going to do leg IK handle L, and that's great. And so I believe now we should be good in terms of IK properly being set up. And yeah, I can move these pull vectors out here, and we are cooking with gas, almost. We just got to figure out why this bone deform isn't happy. And it seems like it should be happy. It's working here fine. Why was it not working in the scene animate? Let's reset all and try this again. Oh, great. Now it works. So cool. Again, Apex is buggy, but it'll get there. So yeah, now that I've done that, I can, I have basically my guy set up. There is one more thing that I should do for good measure, which is right now we have, you can see all of everything stored as geo in these packed folders. You see we have the base shape, the base scale, the base rig, and now we also have this animation. That's cool. Now, what I would do before the scene animate, though, actually, is do a character add, and you'll notice that this orange wire is going into a purple thing, and that seems incorrect and whatever. So the correct sort of intended workflow here is you have your sort of scene on the left side, and then you're almost adding it in, almost like think of like the way subnets work in LOPS or whatever, where I'm just plugging this guy into here, and I'm saying, cool, we're adding a character, and then this guy goes in the scene character one.char. This is using the operating string for the name for this. I can rename this to Nobby, which is the name of this character that I love to use for everything. And then I think that we should be good. So now I can do a scene animate, and everything is a little bit more organized and clean and nice. If I start to animate this guy, it adds the animation back in here, and that's no longer under the in the same like folder as the Navi stuff. It's just in its own folder next to the character, and that's great. I can move this guy around, can do stuff here, can do stuff like that, and then just for fun, I'll keyframe him around, and it's cool because with Apex, it's like very, very, very fast and very interactive, as long as it's not buggy to death. Now, there is this bug that I'm noticing, which is that when I'm animating, it's doing some weird splining, especially when I'm keyframing two keys close to each other, it seems now. It's doing this weird kind of almost steppy motion. And you set some keyframes on here, maybe, and I'll just nudge this stuff around. Cool. I got this stuff now. You'll notice, though, yeah, in the animation editor, as I was saying, yeah, it's got this really weird interpolation stuff going on. Like, particularly like here, you'll notice it's like these really hard, sort of sharp slopes. These sort of S curves, I've been calling them. So I'm sure there's a more correct name for this. But yeah, side effects definitely needs to fix this, because if I highlight them, they're all just Bezier curves, but they're like interpolating all screwed up. It seems like they're like sort of locked at this single tangent length or something like that. I don't exactly know. I think, yeah, if I maybe like reduce these a bunch, it might feel a little bit better, but I don't know. It still is clearly not the way that this stuff is supposed to behave. So let's fix that side effects. But yeah, I also like reported a bug for that, so hopefully they'll get to it soon. And they're fixing lots of stuff with Apex right now, so that's cool. But one last thing I want to cover before I finish up here. If we wanted to, let's say my normal workflow would be to with KineFX would be to animate stuff in like a rig VOP and maybe have the rig set up and whatever, and then kind of at the end of my bone stuff, before it does the bone deform, I then want to add like jiggle and things like that, and secondary motion, or like, you know, that kind of fun stuff. And there's not really a clear way how to do that with Apex right now, and hopefully at some point there will be. But let's go over here and look at our setup. Obviously we're doing the bone deform in this setup, and you'll see basically, I'll just tell this to unpack specifically just the rig. Otherwise it's very slow. And oh god, it's calling a bunch of errors. That's fine. So here's kind of the Apex setup, and it's basically this whole kind of FK setup with all these colored green thingies, and then these guys, I believe, are part of the IK setup. And then over here we have this bone deform. So like Apex is kind of just like has a lot of SOPs in it, and it's the key with it is that it's doing like delayed evaluation of this whole graph rather than having to like evaluate everything at every step, just like classic Houdini workflow, which is what makes it so efficient, is my understanding, which I also don't even know what that stuff really means, to be totally honest. But the point is, it makes stuff way faster, which is good. So if we, yeah, so, but we can see from this basically that the bone deform is happening inside of Apex, meaning that I can't then go and add jiggle without figuring out a way to add jiggle inside of Apex, you know, which would be really nice to have, and I hope that Side Effects adds cool stuff like that. But I have my own custom jiggler that I made in SOPs with a chop net and all this stuff, and I want to use that for now. So how do I do that? Well, it's tricky, yeah, because if I do a scene invoke, and then, I have to tell it what to unpack, I believe. So I can just click this button and say output all character shapes, and then great, now it's outputting my guy. It's still packed, but we can unpack that if we want, either by unpacking or using the folder unpack. So cool, that's fine. Yeah, I believe if I go like that, it's still packed, and that's because it's like a folder packed in a folder. So if I double star here, then I get access to my points, and I can do weird stuff there again if I want. So that's cool. But if I go and do a, yeah, so again, I don't have the stuff that I need to properly animate this or do the bone deform in SOPs now. So if I want to do that, the way that I do that apparently is, I believe from here, I can go and use an unpack folder on the scene animate here. And I can specifically output the base scale, maybe. See if I put this here. Let me double check how I did it back here. Yeah, so okay, it's after the scene invoke. That makes sense. I would say, yeah, I just want to unpack the base scale. Yeah, so over here in the scene invoke, I say, instead of giving me the base shape, give me the base scale. And now I'm getting this guy out of here, and then I have to unpack it because it's packed up here still. And then I can just take the I can just unpack this guy before the scene invoke. And I think I should be able to just say, if I look up here, yeah, I should be able to just say I want to unpack the dot shape. So do unpack folder and dot shape. Is that correct? I think I might need to do, yeah, that guy. Yeah, great. And this still has the bone capture attribute. It's in the T-pose and it hasn't been bone deformed. And then I bone deform it here. Boom, boom. And yeah, now it's kind of working the classic way. And I'm no longer getting the speed benefit from Apex, but that's okay because I can add jiggles and stuff now, which I love to do. And I'll maybe lower the stiffness a bunch so we can see how jiggly he is. Oh yeah, so fun. Now, how cool would it be if I could just get this stuff to just calculate in Apex really quickly and be really efficient? So yeah, anyway, there's my quick little stuff I figured out with Apex video. I hope this was a little bit helpful and made Apex may be slightly less scary and understandable for some people. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Although I probably won't be able to answer them because this is literally all that I know, for the most part. But I'll be figuring this stuff out more now that Houdini 20 is released.